What an amazing way to start the week. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions. And like we talked about in today's earlier video, NASDAQ market was actually slightly in the green, right? From when I uploaded today's earlier video, I talked about the NASDAQ market support right around 605 to the previous resistance range that it was currently testing right around 611. That's when I talked about that. Hey, looks like it's testing a previous resistance. If it does form an overbought reversal like we formed shortly after the market opened, we have some downside potential. If it breaks the support, we have another leg down. And boy, did it sell off. NASDAQ market did have a red day. It's 0.85% in the red. But it seems like the speculative stocks are the ones that saw some of the hardest retracements today. I don't know if you guys would agree, but it looks like although tech was pulling back slightly today, it was like those big speculative companies that saw a little bit more of an aggressive sell-off, which is a very common theme, right? It's always the higher risk assets that get sold off the first. And that's kind of what we've seen with Bitcoin lately. Bitcoin has been getting absolutely destroyed. A lot of you guys know that I don't trade Bitcoin. I'm actually not a big supporter of it. Nonetheless, if you're going to buy an asset itself, you might as well buy Bitcoin and not buy MSTR that calls itself a Bitcoin treasury. With that being said, it's been getting destroyed. Lower highs, lower lows. There's people even talking about just the way that it's currently trading. We are technically in a bear market session for Bitcoin because of how much it's pulled back. So 2025 bear market, we've seen a 28% retracement from its previous all-time high. And this is the part that, again, I just think is very laughable when it comes down to crypto, is everyone likes to encourage you to buy it at all-time highs. For what? I don't know the reason why. But then now that it's sold off about 27 to 28%, this is when people begin to panic because they originally didn't have the conviction that they needed at those overbought levels. They simply bought based off of the principle of other people buying and also FOMO, right? It's like when you buy a BS stock that's pumping up, you buy it at all-time highs, it turns against you. You have no conviction. You have no theory behind it or why you see value. You just bought it because everyone else was buying it. It's a speculative asset. And that's exactly what's going on with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has seen a pretty strong retracement. And on top of that, if you actually see here, we are now seeing it trading below the EMA. So now EMA is actually in the negative, which is very similar to what we saw back in April of this year, right? When during the trade war, when we saw that retracement. So that's one thing that I want to point out. Is crypto aggressively selling off and is the overall market selling off? Yes, of course, definitely something to pay attention to. But do not think that it has to continue to aggressively sell off, especially based off previous patterns. If markets do begin to show signs of a support, Bitcoin does have the ground still for that. Now, if overall markets begin to downturn, I believe that will only fuel the selling pressure more on speculative assets like crypto. But if we pay attention right now to the overall NASDAQ market, it's still incredibly strong. So when we look at this on the day chart, you can still see that it's in the very early stages of it testing support at the EMA. We have huge retracement potential, which is what I'm trying to shed light on. Is we talked about it earlier today. Why is the market selling off so much? There's uncertainty about a December rate decision, a December rate cut. It was expected that originally that the Federal Reserve was going to cut interest rates again, but based off of most recent comments, it doesn't support the case for another rate cut. And this is why markets are beginning to de-risk, because once again, markets got ahead of themselves. It's their fault. It's not the Fed's fault. The Fed is not here to do what the market wants. The Fed is here to do whatever they see to be most suitable based off of current market conditions, right? And they made it very clear in the last meeting. If there is not enough data being shared by the federal government during the shutdown, they will not cut rates blindly. They gave the analogy of like driving in the fog. You proceed to slow down. The same thing that they intend to do in the month of December. Now, If the labor market shows to be incredibly weak to support a rate cut, then that's when we can possibly begin to see a shift. But as of right now, there's a much higher probability that the Federal Reserve is going to pause than they are going to cut rates. But again, we still have 3 weeks. There's still a lot of time that can possibly change this. We talked about this also earlier. I don't even want to talk about the $800 million that has been liquidated in the past 24 hours, this being a lot of leveraged traders. I've made it very clear before, not just with crypto, as again, we don't trade crypto. I'm sure probably many of you guys don't either. But nonetheless, one thing that we've always talked about at overbought levels, there's been a lot of speculative businesses, a lot of speculative stocks, right, that are AI driven, pre-revenue, or still lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year, yet we're experiencing 1,000% returns for 2025. One thing that I talked about is do not use leverage buying them at all-time highs. Do not use leverage when trading those incredibly volatile stocks because of moments like this. Crypto is notorious for being leveraged. That's all crypto is. That's why you see such strong retracements, because in crypto, it's so unregulated that a lot of brokerages allow you to use 10x to sometimes even 40x leverage. I think someone commented in my previous video that their platform allows them to use 100x leverage, meaning that it's not one for one, right? I'm sure you have to meet a specific minimum threshold, but that's like if you have $1,000 and you can trade with $100,000. Let's be honest, someone that has $1,000 to trade with that is just getting started, they probably don't have the responsibility, the understanding, and the risk management to trade with $100,000. Kind of like common sense. It's very easy to want to continue to grow that when markets are bullish, but like we're experiencing right now, a quick little downturn, a 28% retracement, they can quickly get liquidated and lose their entire balance. And this is what crypto is known for. I love this. This was shared earlier today. It says performance in 2025. Bitcoin likes to call itself its new digital, New digital gold. It's insane. Gold is actually up 53% in 2025. Bitcoin is down over 1% in 2025. Every gain that was made by crypto in 2025 has been wiped out. Again, proving once again at overbought levels, you can believe and invest in any asset that you want as an adult, right? Great. But please do not use leverage at these overbought levels, because as you see with these speculative assets, they see very big retracements, and you really have to hope that this is the end, because if anything gets reported on Wednesday when Nvidia reports earnings and overall markets, if they begin to fall, like we said before, there's a lot of pullback potential, right? So let me just plant the seed. If you're worried about how those speculative stocks or speculative assets like crypto are trading right now, that's during this incredibly bullish sentiment for overall markets. If overall markets begin to turn bearish, that is where it can get very ugly very quickly for not just speculative stocks, but for everything, right? But most importantly, speculative stocks, speculative companies, and speculative assets. So that is one thing that I'm paying the most attention to, right? You guys know that I've said it before. I'm definitely not afraid to short the market. I love shorting. I did it with my LPP team today. We did a beautiful job shorting Oklo. I made a little bit over $6,000, and that trade was caught in today's live trading session. So again, if you ever want to tune on in, second link in the description down below. But one thing that you will not see me do is blindly carry an aggressive short position overnight. The reason why is that it is a very volatile market. One moment we could be selling off, another moment markets could be recovering. That is the kind of like environment that 2025 has presented itself with, right? Trump can send out a tweet just because he feels like it and cause markets to boom. But also vice versa. Anything can be shared overnight that's negative about the market and then create huge downturn at market open. So again, when in doubt, never be afraid to cash out. It's not your profit until you actually lock it in. So again, I hope to kick off tomorrow morning with you in our live trading session whenever you're ready to tune on in. Second link in the description down below. Obviously, I'm having a lot of fun watching markets retrace, not because I think that they continue to need to, but I think it just reminds us why not to be over leveraged at overbought levels, but also sheds light in the uncertainty that a lot of people supposedly had on these speculative assets. And now, due to some uncertainty, they're getting margin called and they're getting liquidated. And it's just funny to see things come kind of like full circle. So again, never be afraid to invest in the companies that you see value in. Just do it in a calculated way. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Hope that earned a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.